My name is Peter Gollin. I'm Huntington resident for the last 30 years. I'm also the energy chair of the Sierra Club Long Island Group, which is the country's oldest environmental organization. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to speak here. Personally, and as an organization, I'm in favor of a rapid transition away from fossil fuels toward renewable energy, exactly what we've been discussing here. And I commend LIPA for its first tentative steps in this area, both with the solar projects that have been installed, the homeowner incentives, and also the small wind turbine, which just went online last month, and this project. An offshore wind project, it will be a step in the right direction if it's made at a reasonable pace. And we need to get past what the New York Times just referred to as the paper napkin stage. That's the perception of this project, that it's not real yet. And one of the ways, the best way to do that is to make the project possible and credible, is to start now assembling the necessary environmental, mammalian, avian data. Start that data collection now. This is a 2-year project to get that information. And it should start now rather than waiting for an RFP, which may or may not come out in July. It will take months to select a bidder, months to pass that to negotiate with a bidder. And then finally, if you want the successful bidder to start that process, you've delayed by a year, at least maybe 2 years. So start this process now. Enhance your credibility with the public and with the environmental organizations. And then you'll be able to tell, as Neil Lewis says, that you're already collecting the data that you will show to the fishermen, instead of saying it will happen in the future. We are, as an organization, are prepared to support you in soliciting additional public funding for environmental monitoring. I've made this offer to Todd Stebbins, who says, well, it's not quite right yet to speak up publicly. But whether or not additional outside funding comes, the time to start is now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do we have any other speakers? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask a couple of questions.
Could you tell us who you are?
Sure,
and who you represent?
Sure, my name is Claude Solnick. I'm a reporter with Long Island Business News. You know, I've been listening, and I think there's a lot of excitement, and there are a lot of benefits. But I'm a skeptical person, and I know that the board has been skeptical with certain issues, and I commend that. I'm not sure if I'm hearing that skepticism here, and some of the the things I was curious about are there's a partnership, but there's no commitment by any of the partners. How do you know, or when would you know that one of the partners wouldn't pull out or couldn't, and how would that change it? The Cape Cod is a great thing for this, but that project was downsized, I think, as part of it. Are you looking at what would happen if the project has to be downsized? When would it be practical, or when not? The interconnection costs, I think it's $1 billion. You said that it's feasible. When would interconnection costs not be feasible? And again, there's just built-in inflation. Are you looking into those things? My concern with any project is it's always better to do something, it seems, or the further you get, the more it feels like that way. Are consultants being told that we want the information to go forward, or we want the information because we haven't decided? Because that could affect the type of information you get, whether it's one-sided or not. Anyway, so these are things. Guarantee that the others will stay in. When would costs not be practical for interconnection? And what if the project is good but would have to be downsized? And finally, if a small project is controversial, a big project may be even more controversial beyond the aesthetics. I mean, the aesthetics is an issue, but if a small project was controversial, I mean, how do you diffuse that with something bigger?
Thank you very much.
Claude, be happy to coordinate with Vanessa to talk to you at more length on some of those issues. And you raised some good points, and some of those answers we don't know yet, and that's why I want to get the facts on the table.
Any other?
If I might just clarify a point also on the interconnection costs. A few folks have mentioned that, so I think it needs some clarification. That entire $1 billion is for the interconnection to both utilities. The LIPA portion of that is only about 20% of that amount, and much of that amount is compatible with transmission plans that we already have that need to be done otherwise. So we're well on side of $200 million for the incremental LIPA amount. The bulk of that would be on the Con Ed system.
Thank you.
And that would be the part that would not be shared equally. That would go to the utility.
Okay, all right, we need to try to move this along so we can bring it to a vote. Do we have one last person from the public?
To the trustees, thank you very much for holding this public meeting. My name is Jim Hutchinson. I'm Managing Director of the Recreational Fishing Alliance and President of the New York Sport Fishing Federation. And I do appreciate all the concerns that were brought up about the fishing industry, because we will have some serious concerns about access rights. So the fact that you guys that we were stressing our community means a lot to us, because we do have those concerns. I did want to mention one thing that was stated by the gentleman before about Europe, about how maybe some of the European nations have been leading this charge to go out and get this wind power. Mr. Law, you said some things about not leading the charge, but taking a slow, considerate approach to this, and I appreciate that. In Europe, there's not so much consideration for the recreational fishing industry. There's not a lot of concern given to recreational fishermen and the recreational fishing industry in Europe. Here on Long Island, we have 291,000 saltwater anglers, and those are 291,000 saltwater anglers who bring a lot of money to the table. It's a major tourism economy. We have a very robust business, and we're trying to protect that industry right now from an onslaught from a lot of different people trying to get us off the water. The last thing we need is to put 291,000 anglers in jeopardy of losing some very productive grounds. And I'd mentioned it before to somebody from LIPA, and I'd like to stay in touch with you all. These are 13 miles from the Rockaways. A lot of people think, oh, it's out in the ocean, it's no concern. Roughly that distance from the Rockaways, we have some very productive historical fishing grounds at the Cholera Grounds. It's a very unique structure, hard bottom, one of the most unique structures along the Mid-Atlantic coast. If you start putting in windmills in that particular area, you could do a lot of destruction to that ground. You could kick a lot of people off the water. So again, I just want to thank you very much for bringing up our concerns, because we're going to be very much engaged in this process. So